Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold feelings on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name Elzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all in 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another fungal episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 268, recorded on Sunday, May 24th, 2020. Tonight we're talking about yet another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by the one, the only Dharmic. The movie is The Girl with All the Gifts from 2016. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Astoria, Oregon, we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Hello, gentlemen.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? everybody.
It's, I love hearing you greet me with some other stranger's voice every week.
You know, it just saves time. You know, it's just a simple thing to save a little time.
I do.
And energy.
You know, I should retract that statement. Not a stranger. That's Rage Cat. That's the voice of Rage Cat.
I was going to say, let's not besmirch Rage Cat's.
In which we did not ask him if we can use his voice every week. We just started doing it. You
send us his voice, in fairness.
He did.
We can use it for anything we want. Espionage, whatever. We're the Facebook of podcasts. Send us all the information you want to send us, and we're going to exploit it.
That's right. We have a Rage Cat soundboard in which we're going to crank call people, much like you would with Schwarzenegger's T2 soundboards back in the early 2000s. Because we all did that, right? Am I right?
We're gonna get erected.
We're going to get erected. Last but not least, we got our boy Soju calling in from the Southern Korea. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy Soju Stains. Copyright 2020.
I really want you to one day live in Sheboygan and then have a very easy...
Sheboygan Stains?
Sheboygan Stains. Sheboygan Stains.
Dude, I'd be so big in Sheboygan, you don't even
very
know.
Big in Sheboygan.
very, very big in Sheboygan.
We're huge in Sheboygan.
We need to specifically target Sheboygan for this show so that we can.
That's my goal in all of my artistic endeavors, is to really capture the Sheboygan crowd.
We really need to capture the Sheboygan market. If you are a Straight Chillin' fan from Sheboygan, please get in touch with us. We need to hear from you.
Please hit us up. Let us know that you listen to us and you live in Sheboygan. Also, let us know where the fuck Sheboygan is, because we definitely
it's probably in the Midwest.
It's probably something near where John Candy calls home.
Secaucus? Oh, Secaucus is New Jersey.
Everything you're saying is being recorded. I just want you to know that.
Secaucus, New Jersey,
This is Michael from Let's Get Physical Media. Just letting into the show.
Podcast? Oh shit! yeah. There's a reason why it's called New York, New York. The song, not Secaucus, because New Jersey is shit.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Secaucus.
No, we're talking about Sheboygan.
I just want to say Secaucus.
Thank you.
Is anybody surprised by that revelation?
No.
You're welcome about that. That's why it's New York, New York. Thank you, Mr. Frank Sinatra.
Just keep drinking beer.
Springfield.
Just keep drinking beer. You're gonna sit here and listen to us talk about a movie that you have not seen. So I hope that's okay.
Hey guys, can they see me?
They can. Well, no, they can't, but they could in theory.
Oh, okay.
Before
the Glenn Humplick of this podcast.
The Glenn Humplick. That's you, Michael. Thanks for joining.
Glenn Humplick. Hey, what are you drinking? What's this?
That's a little howdy doody. All right.
Oh God, what the fuck is that?
We got some housekeeping to tackle.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do it real quick. Here's a final reminder. If you support us on the Patreon at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this June. The theme for our June poll pick is Dastardly Ditties or Dastardly Dads. The 3 movies you can vote on are going to be Eraserhead, Rosemary's Baby, and The Woman.
Bomb?
Juice.
How are those numbers looking so far?
Let me tell you. Eraserhead is still winning. I think it's about 2 votes ahead of The Woman. Rosemary's Baby's way on back there. It's looking pretty good.
Bob,
for
you're
Eraserhead.
excited about that, aren't you?
Man, I am excited to complain for about 2 straight hours about Eraserhead.
I'm only so excited because Bob has made such a big deal out of this.
Dude, this is going to be Tetsuo the Iron Man all over again for Bob, I'm pretty sure.
Mushy.
Eraserhead's about the white dude with the Kid and Play haircut, right?
Kid and Play, yep.
Yeah, it is.
That's what the movie's about.
It's Jack Nance with the fucking high-rise fade. That's what's going
We
on.
also just got this from Bob Antichrist, a week or 2 ago. Just bitching.
Oh, poor Bob.
To
If
no
that wins,
end.
can one of y'all be that for Halloween this year?
Eraserhead?
Yeah.
Well,
I make no
Get the
promises.
sweet fade.
That'd be cool, man. Get the Kid and Play haircut.
I got to go to
for
your barber.
$10,000 on
No,
our new
man,
Patreon
no,
level,
this-
you
this
can select
2
our
on top,
Halloween
on the side, baby.
costumes.
$10,000. That's kind of all we got going on the Patreon. Make sure you get your votes in before June 1st for that. Juice, you got any news? What's up?
Let's see. I guess was it last week? I always get confused about in between the episodes. I think last week dropped a brand new video game review. I think for BioShock on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/straight chilling podcast. I am currently going through the whole BioShock series, so that will be one of 3 that you will have coming up soon. So you can check that out. Otherwise, I think I'm clean, baby.
Sweet deal.
You think so, huh?
I got a couple things real quick. Just another reminder, if you are listening to us and you are interested in physical media, our sister podcast, Let's Get Physical Media, episode number 7, which we did a Vinegar Syndrome spotlight, just dropped last week. Make sure you slam your ears into that.
Yeah, listen to that now.
Right now.
Yeah, turn this off and go to that one.
Okay. Here's my impression of Michael right now.
Catch you fuckers at a bad time.
That is very true. Get that shit everywhere you get your podcasts. Also, big thanks to everybody that joined us for our Joe Bob live watch party this past Friday. It's something we're hosting on Zoom every Friday for season 2 of The Last Drive-In. If you want to join us, just keep your eyes on our social media outlets. Every Friday, just before 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to post a link to join our live watch parties on Zoom for the next 5 weeks. We're halfway through season 2, which is crazy. 5 weeks down, 5 weeks to go. Squad.
I saw our hashtag boycott Dick Bibbs was trending.
Oh, it was trending in your specific one email message or Slack message.
I kept getting all the pop-ups for it.
All
Oh,
the
yeah.
pop-ups?
That sounds
That's
like
how
very real.
hashtags
That
work,
sounds
right?
like
All
a
the
real thing
pop-ups.
that actually happened.
All the
Man,
pop-ups.
you are so young. You know how
I
all
know.
the social media works. It's
Man.
so cool to know all those things. All right, that's all we got as far as housekeeping is concerned. Let's go ahead and jump into the main event. We are talking about The Girl with All the Gifts. Let's kick it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Tell me about the gifts, Bob.
Let me tell you about
What's
the
on the
gifts.
back? You got this, right?
I don't actually have this one.
The holographic steel blue.
Steel Blue Stains 4K book.
Oh,
don't have it.
It's the whole disc is made of steel.
I don't have it. This is from 2016. It is currently on Netflix. Very easy to come by.
What's that?
No, it's not.
It is not
physical.
on the
I'm so
Korean
sorry.
Netflix.
Well, the plot synopsis is as follows. A scientist and a teacher living in a dystopian future embark on a journey of survival with a special young girl named Melanie.
Wow,
it.
that's
super
that's
vague.
that definitely describes the first 12 minutes or so of the movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of plot, but we'll get to it. Gentlemangs, had you seen this movie before? Would you recommend it? Randy?
I had not seen this movie before. I wouldn't say this is my firmest recommend, but it's one of those movies where I could kind of... I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend this to anybody, but since you're asking, and somebody was asking me whether or not to watch it, so yeah, it's probably worth it if you're interested.
Cool. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I'd never seen it, and I wasn't super familiar with it either. But it was a solid watch. I would recommend.
Yeah, I'd never seen this before. Yeah, I'd recommend it. It's like a weird zombie movie. It breathes some new life into the zombie subgenre. It didn't.
Boy, choice of words there. Very poetic.
New life.
Thank you. Thank you. It didn't
breathing new life into zombies.
Didn't blow me away.
The Lord's.
But I enjoyed it. Michael, what about you?
Yeah. I concur.
Catch you fuckers at a bad time.
Yeah, I concur.
You concur?
Yeah,
sweet.
I concur
with everyone or no one or all right.
I
with no one.
A girl named Melanie before. Does that count?
I only concur with no one.
Oh, I knew a Melanie. She was mean.
We got to keep you to one show. This is we can't have you on two shows. It's not gonna work out.
I just work here, man.
Just drink your beer.
Okay.
Oh, gracious. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and drop the spoiler warning. It sounds like at least a light recommend from everybody, if not a pretty solid recommend from everybody.
I concur.
Michael concurs. We're dropping that spoiler warning. Let's get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Gentlemen, I have taken liberty to type up a synopsis here. Just to
wow, Bob.
To blast
Limu over here.
You took time out of your busy schedule to get ready for this podcast?
Very busy. I know it sounds like we do not prepare. At least one of us does.
I mean,
his name is Bob. That's me. So,
okay, Bob, give us that typed up synopsis.
Oh my God.
Well, la dee da.
There's a lot of plot to this. I'm going to blast through this as quickly as I can.
No, there's not. Bob, you know what? You typed up this whole synopsis. I bet I could run this thing down in like one paragraph.
Why don't we have a John Henry style competition where you guys both talk at the same time and we see who gets the best point across? Let's go.
There's a little girl. She is at this military complex and they're doing all kinds of experiments on her. It turns out...
Yeah, man.
What's that synopsis again?
Oh, man. All right.
There's a little girl.
I don't know how to recover from this. I'm going to start reading. Here's what I got. I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible. All right. The movie starts out in an underground military bunker where a group of seemingly harmless children being kept in prison cells only to be let out to attend daily classes. The kids are strapped down to wheelchairs and transported to the classroom each day by armed military guards who refer to the kids as things. Their teacher, Miss Justino, doesn't seem to be afraid of the kids, and she takes a special shine to our main character, Melanie. The kids seem harmless, however, whenever they get like a strong whiff of human flesh, they become ravenous. The guards wear a gel on their skin to mask their smell so that they can work around the kids without them trying to eat them. Glenn Close plays the role of Dr. Caroline Caldwell, whom one day asks Melanie for a random number between 1 through 20. The following day, Melanie realizes the number she provides is the same number on the prison cell door of her classmate that goes missing. The next day, Dr. Caldwell asks for yet another random number. Melanie provides her own number instead of sacrificing another one of her classmates. Melanie's taken outside by an armed guard, which allows us to get our first glimpse of the world in which there's a zombie apocalypse happening. Melanie's taken to the lab in which Dr. Caldwell is performing experiments on these children. She's trying to find an antidote for the fungal infection that's turning people into zombies. Melanie manages to escape the lab. At the same time, the army base is being overrun by zombies. Miss Justino is attacked by zombies. Melanie protects her by eating their throats out. At this time, Miss Justineau, Melanie, Dr. Caldwell, and 3 armed soldiers load into an army transport vehicle, and they escape the base safely. Together, they head towards London in search of food. The guards don't quite trust Melanie. However, Melanie eventually earns some trust by helping find food and safe passage because she can maneuver undetected by the zombies. Melanie then asks Dr. Caldwell at one point what she is. Caldwell explains a little while ago the sergeant finds a maternity ward on one of his outings in which there were several mothers who had been eaten from the inside out by their unborn babies. The mothers were infected by the fungus, and so were their babies. However, the babies seemed to be able to function normally as opposed to the mindless adult zombies they had seen before. Melanie and the rest of her classmates were those babies. At some point, the squad then comes across some zombies that look like trees are going out of them. They come across a huge tower with tons of zombies at the base of it that have roots and vines coming out of them that encompass the entirety of the tower. They also find these large pods all over the tower. They also find a compound to hold up in. One of the soldiers goes out to find food. He's overtaken by an army of ravenous kids that are similar to Melanie. Dr. Caldwell then gasses everybody so that she can perform experiments on Melanie. Melanie only pretends to pass out before the doctor can begin her experiments. She wakes up and tells the doctor she can hold her breath to 1,000. She can hold her breath and count to 1,000, rather. Dr. Caldwell tries to convince Melanie to sacrifice herself to save Miss Justineau and the rest of mankind. However, she won't do it. She asks Caldwell why it's her that should die for them. Melanie asks Caldwell to stay in the bunker as she leaves. Caldwell follows her out and gets eaten by the zombie kids. Melanie then lights the huge tower on fire, opening up all the seed pods and essentially damning mankind. The sergeant also follows Melanie as he's about to turn into a zombie because of the airborne seeds. He asks Melanie for a mercy kill. At this point, Miss Justineau and Melanie are the only survivors. The movie leaves us with Miss Justineau teaching a class from the safety of the army bunker, and the army of zombie kids sitting just outside the window, listening and learning from her. That's it.
Oh, God. I rolled my breath the whole time.
It's a lot. Did you count to 1,000? Did you do it?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I counted to 3,000 because that was long as fuck.
A lot of plot.
That was a riveting
Sorry,
Bob.
I apologize.
This is the great equality. Everyone is
it normal to give notes
the
during the podcast?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, way too long. Way too long.
Huh?
Was that the whole episode?
Yeah, that's the whole episode. We're done.
Got you fuckers at a bad time.
Let's go ahead and shut it down. We're done. This movie. All right, we're talking about it. It's a zombie movie. Kind of, but not really. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It says-
yeah, it is, but is it?
All right. If you want to know what this movie is, I figured out a perfect quantifiable mathematical theorem. And
Okay.
this movie is a combination of 3 things. It's Day of the Dead plus Annihilation plus Matilda.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I thought you were going to say 28 days later.
I mean, that could go in place of Day of the Dead, I guess. But the army in the bunker studying dangerous zombie subjects, that's very Day of the Dead to me. That was the first thought I had, so it stuck with me. Annihilation based on a lot of things, but certainly the ending. And then Matilda, there is definitely a strain of a good, well-meaning Miss Honey that should really just back the fuck off a little bit.
Miss
I know,
Honey.
God damn.
Yeah.
Come on, we need some professionalism around here.
It's like it is like the zombie apocalypse, but it doesn't focus on that really. It definitely focuses on Melanie, like the little girl, the quote girl with all the gifts or whatever. And
but she also has to go out and eat flesh pretty often, raw flesh.
Right.
She is a person among many brainless people that is forced to eat living things and is also, by all accounts, dead.
Right.
Except for a fungal infection.
I like how they kind of treat the kids anyways. Like the adults that are zombies, they're just kind of like regular zombies, and eventually they evolve into like trees that bear these spores that are supposed to open up and spread the fungus. But the kids, which are like more so the focus of the movie, they almost treat their zombieism as more like a vampirism almost. Like they operate normally, and then just on occasion they have to feed. They have to like satisfy their hunger.
Yeah,
but
they talk about it in a way.
Though.
Well, not completely. They talk about the way it's a symbiosis type of relationship, because it talks about how there's one point where the doctor asks Melanie for a number. She gives it 13, and they notice that the kid who's in room 13 doesn't show up to the class the next day.
Yeah.
And then she gets really curious. So the next number that she gives is her own number, which means she has nominated herself to essentially be dissected next, which is what the doctor.
I don't think
doing.
She realizes that, but I also think if she, I think that it's a possibility that she did realize that. My first inkling when she said that was, okay, well, she feels guilty about what happened to 13 or whatever.
She's
not going to do that to anybody else. But in any case, what it shows to a scientist looking at these creatures is, okay, well, these things can scheme. They aren't just like mimicking, which is what she sort of implies at the beginning. They're not just mimicking like normal humans. These kids are able to have they have empathy, they have higher thought of some kind, like unlike the zombies that are outside that are like infected from which they were born. It's just an interesting like idea within the zombie realm, as we've seen zombie fetuses crawl out of dead people before, but we've never seen them be able to talk and function normally because of some trigger of birth or something.
Well, the difference is she said, so she had already killed one of the kids and dissected their brain, or taken their brain out because it's in a jar. And her whole thing is, Melanie is like, no, I'm like you. I am human. I can talk. I'm not like the zombies. Mm-hmm. But the doctor is telling her and trying to tell everyone else who sees this girl as just a child, no, it actually is a fungus. The fungus is infused in the brain. She says there's like vines literally like wrapped around the brain.
Annihilation.
And so that's why she says that the fungus is emulating humanity in that way, that it's mimicking what they see in human beings, which is an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because there is instances of that in nature where plants take over an animal's body and make it function. So that's kind of wild.
But it definitely, Melanie is proof, and it's even the doctor in the latter part of the film confesses that whatever's going on with the fungus and whatever's driving these is driving these kids, but it also is accompanied by an actual pathos and like an existing personality that is whether independent of the creature or the fungus or not, is at least its own sort of, like, it passes a Turing test, to put it in other terms. This isn't like a robot. This is a perfect replica of a person. So what's the difference?
Yeah. And I guess I was going to say, I guess the difference is, and it's hard to say like which is true, because the only comparison they have though is human beings who were bitten and become infected, in which case it's a very similar instance, except I guess the vines aren't wrapped around the brain or whatever. So where do you draw the line? Because the question that she asked her at the end is, am I alive? Whereas they see the other people as being dead human beings, where I guess the fungus is just controlling a body.
Because those people don't have higher brain functioning.
They can't talk.
At most, there's a lady pushing a pram around.
But technically, like, I guess at that point they're still alive, and like there's something living within them. So why is that?
It's symbiosis.
I found it hard.
Like they cover in the movie.
Exactly, but I guess I had a hard time saying like that was the turning point. Like, am I alive? Like, yes, you're alive. It's like, well, technically, if it's all a parasite, if it's all a fungus anyways, okay, like it's taking a different form, but I mean, it's still technically alive. That didn't hold as much weight to me.
I think that was in service throughout the entirety of the movie. It was obvious to everybody with the exception of like Glenn Close and the army guards. Like,
right. Well, I mean, it was pretty clear to us that this kid has higher brain functioning, but the reason that's dropped in that moment is because it's making the broader point of the film, which is sort of like, in all these zombie movies and any disaster movie, there's this concept of, well, we have to save the world. But even if all of humanity was wiped off the planet, that does not necessarily mean the end of the world. It's almost a humanistic hubris that makes us think that way. And I think that's what it's getting at more than anything else is, okay, so like the whole point of the end of the movie is, okay, well, Miss Justineau is the last of the normal like people as we recognize them. And then these children who were birthed with these parasites that are co-opting how they live their lives, they still have enough like functioning capability to live their lives and make scheme and make society. So that's what their plan is. It's like, okay, so if all humanity is wiped off the earth, you know, how long would it be before like another species, higher functioning or not, declares dominance over the world and starts like, and becomes like the dominant force in the world the way the humans are right now? It's only a matter of, you know, a few microbes maybe.
There was
tough time to be talking about that.
There was one thought that I had where I was like, actually, I feel like Melanie kind of fucked up because she makes this decision. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to die for humanity. So she is able to sacrifice herself to save her teacher, but also to make a vaccine that Glenn Close, the doctor, could make for all of humanity. Okay. But the problem is she has just encountered this group of kids that are like her. So I guess she feels like, hey, there's more of us. Mm-hmm. One, you don't know if there's any other group that's like that. So this could be a very isolated incident. And two, when she discovers these kids, they're starving. They are like skin and bones, like barely getting by, and they have to feed on flesh. And they're trying to chase around like cats and shit. And they even mention at one point when they're hiding from the zombies, they're like, oh, maybe a cow will come and they'll leave us alone and they'll chase it.
Let me ask you a question, Juice.
No, I'm just
Finish up.
Their food supply is gone, pretty much.
I don't think that's true.
They've just doomed all of humanity to become. They don't have to eat
humans.
Monsters.
That's established with the movie.
They don't have to eat humans.
We don't eat humans, and we survive.
But I know, but we regulate it.
Yeah, but if you teach the kids to like those, that's the whole point.
That's
if you can
only
teach them
the
to
kids,
function.
though. So now all of humanity that's regular, like functioning people that were trying to survive, now the pods are released, and that's going to doom everyone who exists in humanity. Right. And they're just going to go on wild food frenzies.
But you're never going to kill zombies, like brainless zombies. It's proven in this movie are not going to start like hunting in the outer lands. They're going to stay where they were. They're just reacting to stimuli. So wherever people aren't, that's where the food is.
But the instance they gave us, it's like, okay, there's a small group of kids and they're where the zombies are. And guess what? They're starving. So I guess they were starving.
There's a difference though. So that like the kids are like ravenous and like they seem like they would need to like roam and hunt, but the adults just sort of like when there's not food around, they just sort of like slow down and just stand. They don't move at all, and eventually they kind of turn into trees and grow pods. So there's like a stark difference between the adults and these kids that basically ate themselves out of the womb. There's like it's a totally different thing. Yeah. So the kids probably just haven't figured out how to hunt successfully on their own because they're kids, whatever. They don't have anybody to look mothers,
to. Theoretically, and then exactly. Yeah. If they have like Miss Justineau to teach them, okay, well, there are these creatures called cows, and you can find them in pastures where there are no other zombies. Yeah. Then all they have to do is use their higher functioning brain power to go find those things and herd them the way that we always have. Like they go man a farm, and this group of kids can be the start of a new civilization. You don't have to have like there are whole religions, several very well-known religions that are based on the concept of two people populating the entire earth. So I don't think it's like completely out of the realm of thought that a group of 20, 30 kids could grow up and populate the earth in some capacity. It would take a millennia for them to get where we are or were in the previous parts of this movie. But that's the whole thing is like she says you had your turn. Why do we have to lay down for you when we're just as alive as you are? I'm alive. You're alive. What makes your downfall my problem?
Yeah, this is just the next Adam and Steve. That's all.
It's the next Adam and Steve. So
I guess too, there is a question that's left unanswered is the adults become like they just lay down and become trees and pods sprout from them, and they don't know what's gonna happen with the kids. Because Melanie asked the doctor, like, is this gonna happen to me? And she's like, I don't know, maybe. So I don't know.
The thing is, like, the ending or whatever, to me, those questions are the most interesting thing about this movie. So, like, just to go back and sort of talk about the meat of the movie, there's a lot, you're like, to Justin's point of 28 Days Later and the DNA of this movie. But to me, it's kind of like, it's a little rote. Did anybody feel like this was a movie they'd seen before at some parts of the movie? Like, where it's like,
definitely parts. And I even got a little bit of the zombie apocalypse, not zombie / apocalypse, like overkill a little bit. I got a little tired. Yeah.
I liked the look of the zombies. They tried to differentiate while still using the general pathos or general idea of, I keep using that word as if I know what it means. The general idea of a zombie apocalypse. They're using that template and branching out from that. And they're branching out in some pretty interesting directions, but not so much that zombie template is completely overridden. It doesn't feel wholly unique. It's using those very established tropes and telling something of a unique story with them, or telling us something of a unique lore with it. But I don't think it's like, I don't know that the actual parts, like the sum of the parts are interesting, but the individual parts are a lot of times feel like they're borrowed from other movies so heavily that it doesn't break out of its own habitat. It doesn't break through that glass ceiling of interest. It's just like, okay, well, everything's by the numbers, and you have some interesting thought experiments at the end, but otherwise there's a lot of rote stuff, a lot of stuff we've heard before.
Yeah, I actually think the most interesting part of this movie is probably like the first act, like where they're still in the bunker and you have a lot of questions. You're not totally sure what these kids are, or like why they're teaching them, what they're teaching them, what's going on outside of the bunker. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of mystery. And I find that first act very intriguing. But as soon as like we get Melanie outside of that underground bunker and we see the rest of the world, and it's just like there's a zombie apocalypse, the whole movie sort of like takes a step back for me personally. It's like, okay, here we go. Now we got to like travel throughout the world and try and find, other survivors, and we got to find some food, and we got to find another home base to operate because we got overtaken at our old base. It's like the same shit you go through every fucking zombie movie.
Which, I mean, it's not that those things are bad. It's just that, like, it's not focusing on like the thing that makes this movie unique about it. And I don't know if it could, like, I don't know if it's even really anybody's fault. So to like, they're trying to tell this specific twist on the zombie trope, but you kind of have to establish the zombie trope in order for that to land. The trouble, it just doesn't. We're so inundated now and we've seen so many varieties of zombie at this point that it's almost like, okay, can we get to the point where we have some unestablished facts being put forward towards us? They try to, but it just kind of seems like they fall back on the old style stuff a lot.
It is, and it's the compound. Yeah, it's the military, and again, like Bob was saying, it's a rundown building, and where's the food? I mean, you see it time and time again, and so
you even have a sneaking through zombies moment like Shaun of the Dead. They have it all.
Yeah. So yeah, I did feel that fatigue for sure, and I agree.
I can't blame this one movie for it, but it is a movie that was made, what, 2019, 2016?
Yeah, you know what's out there. When you're making a movie, I mean,
yeah, there's no way they hadn't seen these things, and I don't think it's an excuse, but I also think it's not the biggest crime in the world. It just makes the movie less than it could have, or less than I wanted it to be, based on the interesting parts. You know what I mean? I just wanted more elaborate scaffolding around the idea.
I do too. I want to know more about these kids and like what they are able to do, what they're not able to do, and why that is. Because it does seem like even amongst these kids who are separate from the normal zombies, Melanie is even separate from these normal kids. So like she's quote the girl with all the gifts rather.
She's Pandora.
The gifts. So like she's even high functioning amongst these kids who are high functioning in comparison to the normal like adult zombies. But like, why is that? We don't really know.
Yeah, you don't really know.
But she's able to kind of wrangle her classmates, so to speak, at the end of the movie and make sure that they pay attention to Miss Justineau. And we are led to believe that they will eventually, hopefully, like rise to her level. And then there will be just like a whole new class of people.
She's the only
zombies.
one among them that has been educated by the end of the movie. She's the only one left that had an education, I think. And that plus the fact that she started out as being a little smarter than them. That's seen in humanity. That's seen in everything. Like there are kids that are smarter than other kids. There are dogs that are smarter than other dogs. That's part of like the reality of a living ecosystem as well. So I don't think it's so unexplainable that she has a little bit of a leg up on the other kids. She just happens to be the girl with all the fucking smarts and all the everything.
Which is she's the one though. There's not like a couple. She's the
right.
one.
Well, the only one that we know of at the end of the movie, where they're basically starting a new society with a new variety of human being.
Yeah. I don't know why that is. And I wouldn't place so much attention on that if that weren't literally the name of the movie either, you know?
Well, it's also a reference to Pandora, which
that was Randy's thing. Where it was like, oh, she unleashed all the plagues on the world, and at the very end, when all the plagues were unleashed, there was like hope left in the box or whatever. It's like, okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a little bit of bullshit in this, in the morality of this movie, and I want to bring it up because it really took me out. And because I think it was at a pivotal moment in this film. And I want to bring it up because I think it's some bullshit.
All right.
So the whole time, what they kind of anchor themselves to is the kind of morality. Like, here's this little girl and she can talk like everybody else, and it's not fair to sacrifice her. It's not moral to say. It's almost that, like, do you sacrifice one to save the lives of all?
It's a trolley problem.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though, and it all kind of pivots on Miss Justineau, who constantly kind of protects this little girl against the soldier and against the doctor. Okay. Because the doctor wants to dissect her, you know, peacefully if possible. Oh, it's not going to hurt, but I can save all of mankind. And here's the thing, though. Here's some bullshit. At the pivotal moment that everybody sees this happen. So the whole thing is, can we sacrifice one little girl to save all of humanity? And it's like, no, we can't. That's not moral. That's not just. They watch this little girl brutally murder one other kid in front of their face to save two people. So in order to save the soldier and Miss Justineau, it's totally okay for them to sit back and watch this girl who they've been protecting the whole time to beat to death this other little kid. That's fine. There's no morality problem in this one other kid that we don't know dying to save these two people. But we can't sacrifice this one girl to save all of humanity. Like, what? That's some bullshit.
The only thing I can think immediately from that is that there's a disconnect going on between, you know, them being afraid. Like, I don't think they were on board with her doing that. I think they were more just like, okay, I guess that's what's happening. We cannot stop this. And if we say anything, we're going to die.
But after that fact, so then they take her back to the bunker. And then after that fact, shouldn't they be like, okay, maybe like this isn't so great. Like,
well, I think that Justineau certainly, like Miss Justineau is not on board from the get-go. And I think that whatever the military dude, I forget his name, but he was sort of coming around. I kind of think like he was like saying good job to her and congratulating her and letting her do a lot more. Yeah. The sergeant.
They can depend on her because she found them safe passage. She got them food or whatever.
Useful tool for them.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, well, this girl's obviously contributing more to our party than really anyone else.
The only person who needed that come to Jesus moment that you're describing is Glenn Close, who was in the bunker at the time and didn't get to hear that story because she knocked everybody the fuck out the minute they walked in. using.
No, I know. I'm just
gas.
saying the morality of this movie, where it's like, no, you need to be the better person. You need to stand up.
I don't know.
Melanie, who says, I'm not going to sacrifice myself to save you guys, is willing to brutally murder a kid who is in the same place as her, the same being. Okay, these beings are alive. There's this kid over there, and she's willing to beat the shit and like brutally murder him. But it's like,
I think you're confusing the facts of what happened in the story with the point of the movie.
No, I'm talking about the morality that they anchor themselves to.
I don't think that they're anchoring themselves to that, because by the end of the movie, it counteracts everything. Like they're saying, like, well, you've been overtaken. At this point, I'm alive, you're alive. My kind is surviving and your kind is dying. You guys might, as far as we know, be the only ones left. I'm not going to die so that you can have a vaccine for no one. Like, I don't know. I think that the morality is absolutely in question throughout the entire movie, even at the end.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, Melanie puts a lot of stuff.
It's not a matter of morality. It's a matter of the way life functions. It's a Darwinian compass that it's operating on, not a moral one. I'm
just saying from the human perspective, from Miss Justineau, like Miss
Justineau's
struggle of like, oh no, you can't sacrifice one person with this one little girl, when this one little girl is quick to throw that morality out the window. Oh, I need to save two people? Well, I'll kill the shit out of this kid. Like Miss Justineau is the only one who's hung up on this morality, and it's shown to just go out the window as soon as this like other little kid needs to die.
Miss Justineau seems to be the only like consistent person in
She's
this.
She's the only one that has
movie.
her idea.
Like, yeah. She starts off believing these kids are equal to humans, and like she never seems to waver from that. Melanie, I don't think really knows quite what she is, obviously, because she at some point she literally asks in the movie what the fuck she is, and all like the soldiers and stuff just treat these kids as monsters, and the soldiers and the Dr. Caldwell sort of like come around to the fact that they're not just monsters throughout the course of the movie. But like Miss Justineau starts and ends in the same exact place, I think.
Yeah,
so
I think so
like,
too.
Like Melanie all of a sudden deciding that she doesn't want to sacrifice herself, even though like throughout 3/4 of the movie, if not more, she is like down to do whatever she has to do to protect these humans, no matter what, no matter how they treated her. I feel like just her getting Dr. Caldwell to admit that Dr. Caldwell thinks that they're, quote, alive. Like, they're not just monsters. They are alive. They're equal to humans. Like, her hearing that literally changes Melanie's mind. She wasn't there yet until Dr. Caldwell said that. And she's like, well, if you believe it, I absolutely believe it. And in that, if that is the case, I am not going to sacrifice myself because we're on the same page now. We are equals.
See, I don't know if I get down entirely with that to the extent that I think that, like, she's incredibly smart. She's like, for all accounts, she's basically like a genius level child who also happens to be a bloodthirsty zombie when she's hungry and in prime, like within smelling distance of a real person, a normal person. So I think throughout the movie, like she's doing what she has to do to survive. I think that's the whole thing. Like she's doing everything she has to do to survive. She comes from this organism, this microbial fungal like infection. Like that's part of who she is, and it's overtaking humanity. She's just part of the next wave of what dominates the planet. And I think that she's kind of, I don't know if she has, come up with that thought in her brain or not, but the reason she's protecting the people that she protects is because she wants to survive, because she needs to show her worth to these people that would just as soon kill her and definitely intend to. And then Miss Justineau is somebody she loves. Like she loves him, and she eventually grows to like endear to the sergeant, and is regretful when he, winds up in a position where he's going to die. Like he doesn't. He's like, oh, she's like, I didn't want you to come out here. I wanted you to stay there, and he wanted Miss Justineau to be there too because she loves these individuals. Yeah. But she is still riding the wave of wanting to survive, just like anyone. It's the way that, like, if you saw a dog, if you're in a flood and you see a dog on a raft, or on a rooftop, across the way, you want to try and rescue the dog because, it's a dog. You want to have sympathy for it. But if, like, I don't know, to me, it was
I get what you're saying, racket. And that makes sense. However, with Melanie's character specifically, she is calm throughout the entire movie, no matter what the situation is. And it almost seems like she is completely cool with sacrificing herself up until the very
I didn't see that
second
at all. She didn't want to die.
That Caldwell was like, you know what? You're alive. I don't like. She didn't want to, but she seemed
that's
fine with it. That was my read.
I didn't get that either.
I don't get that.
You know what my take was? Actually, it's kind of different. It's interesting that we all have kind of different takes on this. So I felt like the movie purposefully ended on this bleak note because we see Miss Justineau. She kind of wakes up crying. I felt like Miss Justineau felt like she made a mistake. At the end, I felt like she ultimately regretted her decisions. And what I took from it, and I feel like after she had seen Melanie beat that other kid to death and saw that she was willing to sacrifice the other humans, this is a thought that popped into my mind, that actually Melanie throughout the movie was kind of being monstrous. And one of the things, once this movie ended on that bleak note, like it seemed to have that kind of like bleak message to me, I guess, was in the beginning, the doctor, who I think is actually on par with everything she says. It's just really that morality where we're like, oh, she's evil. But she says like, oh, this organism is trying to emulate us. Mm-hmm. And Melanie herself is even constantly kind of tricking everyone. Like she hides the pictures. She hides the fact that she can hold her breath and everything like that. I didn't think she was willing to sacrifice herself. I thought that she manipulated the doctor into telling her how to open the pods, because it wasn't until they were having that discussion that Melanie figures that she is getting the doctor to constantly talk and tell her about herself. Like she's constant, and she's even asked the doctor, like, what am I? Tell me like everything that you know. And it wasn't until that point that she wanted to know how to open up the pods. So I think that actually Melanie was this monstrous like fungal thing that was just manipulating these people to figure out itself and how to survive on its own.
Well, I think the survival part is definitely on point. The question of whether or not she did all that maliciously, I tend to think no, because the text of the movie seems to suggest otherwise. But there's an argument to be made that there's like an ex machina style ending going on here, like you're describing, where everything that we saw that we invested in was an elaborate hoax as an attempt to survive by a creature that is unknowable to us. But I don't necessarily think that's the case here. Because she's regretful. She has no reason. If that's the case, why did she sit and talk to the sergeant at all? She could have just walked the fuck by him and been like, that guy's
all
dead.
Of them. She tells them all to stay put, but they just don't listen.
She clearly has like affection for some of these people, and not just him, but like Miss Justineau. Like she clearly has affection for her. Yeah. You could argue that she could be for her an asset. She's like, okay, if she somehow has the foresight where she's like, okay, well, if I'm going to run the future, if me and my people are going to run things, we're going to need somebody to like break down how the world has worked in the past for us so we know what we're doing. Even if she has that cognizance and that like foresight of what's going to happen, like then you could argue, okay, well, she's only keeping Miss Honey here alive, exploiting her pain and her interest in keeping the little girl alive in order to propagate her fungal species. Yeah. But whether by birth or by the fungus, this girl has like genius level capabilities. I think of her more as like Ender from Ender's Game, where she's being very pragmatic, but she's regretful of what she's doing at the same time. Like it's not that she's devoid of like what we would consider a human emotion. She's out for survival no matter what the cost of that is. So I mean, I think, I don't know, there's different ways to look at it, I guess. And it's pretty telling that these are the things that we're focused on. This movie's strength comes from those interesting ideas to me, and the rest, like nobody, I don't know if you guys maybe disagree with me or if somebody else does, but like the scares in this movie didn't do a lot for me. The look of the zombies was okay. The direction wasn't bad. The acting wasn't bad. It was just sort of like by numbers in a lot of places, it seemed.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
That's it. The movie on the whole suffers despite having a really good nucleus going for it, I think. Yeah.
There's only one decent scare in this movie that I can recall offhand, and it's the zombie lady pushing the baby in the buggy, and then Glenn Close kind of moves the
rats. That was
cover.
Cool.
Yeah, and the rats are like eating the baby. That's pretty fucked up.
Justin, you love rats. Why did that make you giggle or what?
Little rat on me going on.
Yeah, that's really the only one though. Other than that, like it's really just about
I can't even name
Melanie and the inner workings of like this group of normal humans that she's with, like that,
which is fine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting movie.
It's not the end of the world, but it's just like, to me, it made some parts seem like a slog to me, where I'm like, okay, now comes the part where this guy is separating from the group. So obviously he's going to be in danger at least and probably die, and then lead them on a goose chase. Like there's the not cat and mouse, but that's sort of like by numbers sort of portrayal of things at a certain point.
You have to create drama and tension. So
right. Yeah. It's like padding almost
on his own. And
this seems like it could have been a really fucking cool, like short film, or like if this had been like an hour-long special and tightened everything up and focused on those ideas more than the action, it would have made for a more interesting movie. And I think in general, like I liked some of the action, but it just seemed like set dressing for a different kind of movie.
Yeah, even when they need to like go get water and stuff, at that point I was disinterested. I was like, this is no different than what I've seen in The Walking Dead. This is no different than what I've seen in where you just go, oh, the truck won't quite start, and oh, somebody kind of got bit. Are they going to turn? Are they not going to turn? It literally is things that we've seen so many times.
And it's tough to, like, in this culture, it's tough to say that like those things aren't tired, because they've been seen so much.
I feel like if they would have given this the 10 Cloverfield Lane treatment, like the majority of the movie's underground, but on occasion, we have to take Melanie up above ground to get water or something. And every time she goes up,
learns more.
Yeah, she learns a bit each time she goes up, and like we don't necessarily have to like navigate through all these zombies that are standing around. You don't want to wake them up, good. Just something like that, man. It would have made, like, we don't need to see the world overrun by zombies because we've seen it and it's not interesting anymore.
It's like I think about Annihilation. I kept seeing that in this movie, and especially at the end where things are growing out of people. But like the idea of things that are destructive leading to new life, like that whole thing is kind of central to the end of the movie. But I also see it as like this sort of I don't know, it's like a flashpoint for the movie that she wants to propagate her species rather than save the species that we're conditioned by birth to empathize with. I think that's the more interesting thing. But adding a bunch of like extra like if you look at the movie Annihilation, there's some action sequences, but not that many. And the ones there are more weird than they are action-y. You know what I mean? They're more intense than they are action-y. If they had gone a little more with that route and a little bit less on the overt action, it's like they merged 28 Days Later into Annihilation, like the running zombies, the quick changing, all that shit. Like that scene where, like right at the beginning, where we first see the zombies breaking through and she's about to be dissected. Little girl's about to be dissected and breaks through this glass before the shutters can get down. And like that's the first like real clue that we get that, man, shit is not just fucked outside, it is fucked outside. And it's a little bit cool at first, but then it's like, okay, well now this just turned into a rote action scene when we were about to get some answers or have some like interesting dialogue about what's happening. Or I would have rather have seen like a little bit more in that bunker, at least, where we were like having some discussions with the kids that may not have revealed everything, but would have revealed the state of mind, or like what revealed sort of like a little bit more about what's driving them, or add some question about what's driving them, or given like a little more credence to Glenn Close's perspective, because she's kind of played for the villain, but her reasoning is sound. She, just like the little girl, is trying to save the species that she is a member of.
Yeah, why are they teaching them anything at all? Like if she's just running experiments and eventually is going to kill them all, until she finds a cure. Why are they teaching them?
I don't know. Like every piece of information is relevant. I think that's fair. But like this is like, and it's also like an inverted Day of the Dead, right? Where you've got like, you're really like, we're supposed to sympathize with the test subjects because they're being kind of abused or whatever. But I don't agree with Miss Honey, whereas I agree with whatever the woman was in Day of the Dead, where she's like, you've got this mad scientist trying to teach people, okay, well, this is like, this is stuff that like would be valuable to know. If we can give this thing higher thought, then who knows what we could do to weaponize that or to save ourselves with that. Whereas in this movie, that's like, this seems like extraneous. Like, why, like you said, why even bother teaching these kids? If these aren't really kids, if we're trying to distance ourselves from these kids seeming like humans, then why even go through this rigmarole? I don't know. I go back and forth on all that. It almost, I don't know.
They could have just fleshed it out more, and I think
that's
it would have been more
problem.
interesting if they had done that.
And instead, they spend a little bit of time with the sergeant, like explaining his back. Oh, I was just working. I never saw any action before this, and now it's great.
Yeah,
like
which
is fine for color, but it doesn't add a whole lot onto the overall.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's just some weak points as well.
Do you guys have anything major you want to touch on before you rate this thing? I feel like we covered most of it, anyways.
I feel like.
Yeah.
I think the rat was.
There wasn't any major scenes we left out. The whole rat. It didn't get me quite as good as the old Halloween Resurrection rat.
No rat.
There was no
will
giant cartoon bite taken out of it.
That fucking rat, man. That fucking rat.
I did like the skin. Like I said, I like the prosthesis on the zombies where because it's fungal. It was an interesting take.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of like Resident Evil 4 where it was parasitic infection rather than straight rote zombies. So I give them credit for that too, certainly. And it led to the interesting idea of the pods or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and rate this then. Out of 5, Randy, how you feeling about the girl with all the gifts?
I was feeling a little more down on it before starting the episode, I think, because just discussing like the variance of takes that we all had on some of the major points of the film. I think that always is interesting to me, and I think it adds a lot to the conversation and makes the movie more worthwhile. I'm glad I have watched it now because we've had an interesting conversation about what its intended purpose is or what it's trying to get at. I'm down for that usually. I just think, like I've kind of already said my piece on this at this point, it's just a little bit by the numbers otherwise. I can understand why that's the case or why that's the impulse to make it that way. I just think that for the really sort of like think about again Ex Machina or Annihilation. These are movies that move, or they're slow burns within a chaotic world or a chaotic like situation.
Yeah.
Or like it's really slow terror, and I think that this movie could have benefited from that aesthetic more than the 28 Days Later aesthetic. It's like filtering those movies through 28 Days Later or through Day of the Dead, and I don't know that really added to the point. I think it really just it's meant to make it more fun, but it didn't really because they're so used, these tropes, that it's not really that interesting to watch anymore unless there's something really cool driving it underneath. And that's the only reason that I would say I'm giving this a better than negative review for me, or better, like more than a 2.5, which would have been my impulse at the start. The ideas are good, but the scaffolding is rickety and tired and worn out is kind of the short version. So for me, it's a 3 flat, I think. Not a movie I'm in a rush to see again. Not a movie that I'm going to recommend to a bunch of people. But I think it deserves to be in the conversation with some of those other movies we mentioned. And I also think, I don't think it really does, like, it doesn't, if you look at this as a zombie movie, it doesn't do anything for me. If you look at this as a movie about the nature of life and survival and what morality is, or whether or not morality is worth anything if shit's really going down, like all of those are the questions I like to have really prodded. And in the fact that this movie does it in a way that zombie movies on the whole, even good ones, don't usually touch on, it doesn't really go into this level usually, or at least it doesn't do it in such an interesting way. So that's what pushes it to a 3 for me, and I think that's reasonably fair.
Cool. 3 from Randy. Juice, how you feeling?
Good. I really have enjoyed this discussion. Thanks, guys. Thanks for
You're welcome.
elevating
You're welcome,
my
bro.
thoughts.
Around here, that means big money.
Randy. I'm taking this as I am going to take away as the monster one. I like the idea of an ex machina of the bleak kind of ending. The monster manipulated them. The monster came out on top. Everybody else died. It's that bleak. I agree with the idea that I wish they had gone the route of the Ex Machina or the 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it was all more isolated, more personal, because those are the parts that I liked. The acting was good in this movie. Everybody did a good job, and the girl did a great job in making you feel sorry for her because she just had that kind of this innocence to her. She wrote stories, but see, even that, I just can't get over the fact that I think she was manipulating people. She wrote the story because she saw Miss Justineau was kind of like kinder to the kids. She was the one who always got them to like tell them stories, and she knew exactly like what to say and how to say it. And I find that really interesting. I like the idea of Bob said where I wish they just like went up a little bit and we were learning as Melanie was learning, like we were following her journey. But instead we just kind of get thrown into this big world. And I agree with Randy that it didn't really add that much to me. If anything, it made me tired. I was like, I don't want to see this again and again and again. And the only interesting thing that the zombie aspect brought to me was I like seeing that tree. I like how they all kind of congregated around that tower and died, just the visuals of it. And I guess the idea of the pods is like interesting too. But that was the only thing that the zombie aspect added to the enjoyment for me. And I thought ultimately it did hurt this film. But it was solid. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
3.5 from the juice stain.
Bob, out of 5, how are you feeling about The Girl with All the Gifts?
Let me tell you, I kind of love this conversation because like I feel like all 3 of our reads on Melanie really represent our 3 personalities. Like not that we're wildly different people or anything, but maybe I'm reading way too much into it. I don't know. I just like...
You don't know me.
I completely give Melanie like the benefit of the doubt, and like she is totally on board with sacrificing anything and everything for the human population because, she sees what's good in human, just humanity.
That's where you get taken advantage of, Bob. You weak
I don't know
little piece of...
Whoa. No, that's not... That's totally my read on this, and you can absolutely have a discussion about whether or not that's true, and that's kind of where this movie succeeds, I think, and we all kind of come away from watching this with a different take on it, and that's really interesting to me. I really like that. I actually like this movie more having had this conversation than I did just watching it on my own because it's just I like hearing all the different takes for sure. On top of that, like I already mentioned, I like how they treat the kid zombies in a different way. It's not just like a normal-ass zombie movie through and through. Even though they do hit a lot of the familiar beats, the way they treat the kid zombies is different. The way they're in the classroom, they're able to just be normal as long as they're not hungry and smelling flesh. Also, just like... Miss Justineau's character in general, from start to finish, that woman is just killing it. She is so invested in these kids, specifically Melanie. And at one point in the movie, she just straight punches Glenn Close in the face because she suggests like sticking Melanie in the wheel well of the truck.
I don't know about Miss Honey. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that shit. I was way on board for that. Also, Glenn Close is, she's killing it because she's fucking Glenn Close. The acting across the board is very solid, and just the way they treat these kids, and of course just the general fungal nature of this zombieism is what really sets this movie apart. I'm going to give it a 3.5 as well. That's going to put our aggregate at a 3.3. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about The Girl with All the Gifts.
Certified fresh to death.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. We're about to do a Rotten Tomatoes segment. For those new to the podcast, we are going to have, or I'm going to have these two gentlemen guess to the best of their ability out of 0 to 100% what the critics aggregate and the user aggregate are from RottenTomatoes.com for The Girl with All the Gifts. We're going to start, as we always do, with the critics. Out of 100%, there are 125 counted among these, so 125. What percentage are positive? Rob, we'll start with you this time. What do you think out of 100?
I'm going to go with a 75, please.
75, okay. Juice Stain, what do you think?
That's a good guess because I was thinking it's going to be on the higher end. Maybe Glenn Close is pulling the strings, give this a good review. I'll take the higher end. I think it's probably really close to that. So I'm going to $1 Bob and say 76.
Okay, well, neither of you were as close as apparently Justin thought, but Justin still pulls it out. 86% certified fresh.
Right.
86. So the critics.
That's pretty high. That's pretty high. I don't know about all that, but
seems a little too.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Glenn
see.
Close pulling those strings.
Glenn. Cruella DeVille's in this movie? 10 stars. All right. Critics' consensus is as follows. The girl with all the gifts grapples with thought-provoking questions without skimping on the scares and finds a few fresh wrinkles in the well-worn zombie horror genre along the way. Mostly true, I would say, but I don't know. Those are pretty well-worn wrinkles, I would say, for the most part. The only new wrinkle to expressly to the zombie lore, I would think, is the fungal thing and the idea of, kids coming out basically functioning instead of as just baby zombies. Yeah. And I think some of the scares were a little snoozy to me. Now we're going to move over to the user scores.
Snoozy or boozy?
I mean, it's boozy tonight.
They're
for
kids.
sure. I got me the hard cider. But the kids,
Randy.
You know me. You know me. I drink some of that shit that people think is dumb. It's me. All right. Let's go to the Oozers score. Juice, why don't you start us off this time? Out of 100%, 0 to 100%, what do you think the users, the audience, gave this movie? And let me tell you, the users count run in the range of 9,000, around 9,000.
Damn.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, it seems pretty high. I think the Oozers are going to be less hot on this one. So I'm going to say 69.
Wow. Comedy number.
All right.
Played straight.
All right.
Bob, what do you think?
I'm going to $1 and say 70.
Oh, 70.
What? 70.
Well, Bob, it's better to be lucky than good because Juice is going to take this one out. This one was a 66%. So you off there.
Pretty close.
66, about
Pretty
3
close.
off.
Somebody's doing the 69 wrong. That's what the 66 is. You're fucking it up. Let's get it together.
So some of the... I'm going to read some negative reviews because I like doing that. It's so much funnier to read a critic be shitty than it is to read a critic glow.
That's true.
That's what we do here. It's straight chilling.
We just shit.
I just like the way this is posited to the reader. Very confusing and absurd. One of the worst zombie films. Full review in Spanish.
Yes.
So yeah, there's Rotten Tomatoes for everybody.
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Oh, I wasn't gonna. I did no preamble for that. I did not look into this beforehand, so they might not be that interesting.
That's how we got on the tomatoes. Let's go ahead and jump into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
Let's talk trivia, boys. So there was one thing that we kind of dropped the ball on this one. I guess I'll take most of the blame because I'm the video game guy, but I don't have a PlayStation. So this was brought up in the Slack, and so none of us could really touch on this much, but the film shares similar themes and plot points to the PlayStation 4 video game The Last of Us, which is a really, really popular game. I've played like the opening segments of it, maybe the first hour and a half to 2 hours, and there are some scenes that look very like when they were in the decrepit building, and like the schools and stuff getting around the zombies look very similar aesthetically to this game, but both feature a fungal zombie plague. Both have a last stage of infection where people sprout spore pods. Both zombies overwhelmingly rely on a single sense, smell and sound respectively, meaning the heroes can move from hordes. Both feature a young girl who potentially has the cure who needs to be moved through infected zones. Both focus on her relationship with a gruff, reluctant father figure. So,
Quite ironic.
I know, and it's too bad we couldn't touch on those similarities because none of us are super familiar with this game. So.
Is Cubert anything like this movie? We could talk about that.
Very similar. It's kind of like that
Beetle Adventure Racing. No parallels there.
That game from Bob and Randy's time, Pong.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Pong. Get the fuck
back
out
from
of
when
here.
I was hanging out with old Billy Gates in his garage.
Billy. His name is William. His
Maybe
friends
do it.
call
Maybe
him William.
So also apparently this is based on a book. Did
I think
anybody
it's a
else know
graphic
that?
novel, I believe. Yeah, is it
Okay.
is it a book or is yeah?
It says in the book. I don't know why.
Um,
But it says in the book,
I think
Melanie
it's
is just.
it's a bathroom reader, actually.
It's not
okay,
it can't. It
Are you
can't
sure
be
it's
a
not an article in Scientific American?
It can't be a graphic novel because this trivia says in the book, Melanie is described as blonde with blue eyes. Miss Justineau was described as a tall, dark black woman in her 40s. So they kinda
Whitewash.
They switched it, I guess.
I guess that's true.
Oh, Randy. Also, is anyone else familiar with Justineau? I found that name to be very strange.
It's an unusual name, but I think that we all instantly remembered that name because A, it was brought up a lot, and B, it's like very, I don't know, it's pretty unique.
It is.
Also,
yeah.
it's my name. So
Yeah,
that's why
I'm
I
sure it's
remember it.
Justin. Oh, I'm sure you hear that all the fucking time.
Justin Soju.
Justin.
Oh.
Like that, right? That's like
Justin.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
That was so solid.
Perfect. Randy on the
Perfect,
ones and
Randy.
twos.
On the ones and twos.
Every once in a while, he kills it. Once in a while.
Yeah, the real gift is the scattershot nature of it. If I hit a button every 10 seconds, one of them's going to be funny.
It's true.
You got it down, Randy.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins.
Too soon.
There was some aerial footage. This was pretty cool. Aerial footage was shot by a second unit in the ghost town, Pripyat?
Pripyat? That's
it's near Chernobyl.
Yeah, that's heavily featured in the series Chernobyl.
Oh,
Pripyat?
was it?
HBO miniseries.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
the main
where
town.
I don't remember that part.
That's the main
Oh,
town
was
they
it?
evacuated.
Okay.
Yeah. Pripyat.
Okay. So they some of the shots from that town were used in here because he said, the director said, I was very interested in post-apocalyptic imagery and urban exploration. We wanted to surprise people rather than have people coming in expecting a studio level film. So they actually sent in a mic or a drone to film there. So some of the footage was used from that city or that little town.
Interesting. European style.
European style.
Well,
Yes, sir.
la dee da.
There's not a whole lot of interest. There's not a whole lot left, to be
Okay.
honest. I try to make a game out of it, but I'm not really seeing a whole lot left.
You can only do what you can do.
I know.
You
I'm
know?
sorry. Randy stole the show this week. You did a good job, Randy.
If
I love being incontinent.
God, I love that shit. All right. Well, if that's all we got for trivia, let's go ahead and move on to the Cooter of the week.
Cooter of the week.
Cooter of the week. All right,
Okay.
Bob. Popping the tall boy.
Juice, you want to explain what a
Top of the
Cooter is to the
tall boy.
world?
Let's hunt some things. We're going to hunt Cooter specifically, which is character type. All right, Bob. They have to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. The 5 points are sexual deviancy, manipulation, smug arrogance, attire, and overall patheticness. Man, I got that list down now.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I don't think we're going to come to a clear conclusion on this movie because
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
and my initial impression was I don't think there's anybody that struck me as a Cooter, like just on gut instinct. But even looking at the one that I would most look at, it's kind of dependent on how you read the movie. So like our different interpretations of what what Melanie is going through, or what's going through her head, really kind of dictates whether or not I think she's a Cooter. Because like the smug arrogance, if she truly is an ex machina style, just tricking you to get by, manipulation mastermind, then clearly she hits that mark. Yeah. But she's not gonna, like, nobody's hitting sexual deviance in this movie. Nobody's really hitting attire, I wouldn't say.
I don't know the spores. They are in a hypersexual state. So.
Okay, well, I'm looking at this from a human perspective. So
we're not hosting an intergalactic kegger down here.
I don't think there is an outright Cooter in this movie, but the closest one that I came to with my initial read of the movie was Dr. Caldwell, Glenn Close's character, because she is for sure self-important. She thinks very highly of herself. She's also very manipulative. She manipulates all these fucking kids because she's trying to find a cure to save her own kind.
How dare she?
But other than those two, attire, no, sexual deviance, no, patheticness, no, like. She's the closest I have, really. I don't know that there really is a Cooter in this movie.
Can we talk? Let's talk about Melanie. It's potentially a Cooter.
Okay.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Ain't that the truth?
I'm trying to go uphill. So I think she's manipulative. Even if you don't think it's in a hostile kind of way, she knows how to get like what she wants.
Trying to survive. Got it.
Yeah. So she's.
I don't know if trying to survive
but not just that. Not just even like I was saying in the room. Like she knows how to get the teacher to tell them a story instead of doing science like they're supposed to. Like I think she has manipulation skills.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that a kid in a fucking normal kindergarten class asking to hear a story is a manipulative.
Yeah,
but she gets what she wants every time.
She
writes that
so do kids.
Specifically,
kids like stories, and I think
that's
a pretty. I think the reason that works in the movie. I think the reason that works in the movie is because that is a very, very human instinct. That's not about survival. That's about being a kid who likes to hear stories, which is most.
I don't know. I mean, she's able to talk. I think following her journey through the story, she manipulates. Like she's able to get out of her mask. She doesn't want to wear the handcuffs. Like anytime she wants to get what she wants, she gets it.
I think that's a byproduct of
maybe she's
your reading of her.
She's got a fucking mask on. She wants to be treated like a normal person. That's it.
But she gets what she wants. Anytime that she wants to get what she wants, she gets what she wants.
She also she's
that doesn't make you manipulative necessarily.
Yeah, she's still a team fucking player.
I'm not saying she's not doing good. My point literally is anytime
that's your point.
I'm hunting. I'm hunting. I'm saying, can you deny the fact that anytime she wants to get what she wants, she gets it?
I smell Cooter.
No.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I would guess so.
And
she gets handcuffed multiple times. She gets handcuffed multiple times. She gets out for a while, and then she gets put back under and gets thanked for it. I don't know, man. I think that what you're describing would be anybody in the position of being the person that is not even seen as a person amongst a traveling party in imminent danger at all times.
Yeah. If not for Justin,
I'm not saying good or bad. Like she's able to manipulate people to get.
I just don't think that's enough to make a Cooter. Is really.
So
I don't think it's Cooter level manipulation.
Let's just say she is manipulative. Okay.
Okay, so that's one point. She's got to hit.
People trying to get what they want is not inherently manipulative. Otherwise, we would all be Cooters.
Absolutely.
Can we say attire?
No. She has no choice in it whatsoever. She has no choice.
But she gets blood all over it.
No, Justin.
She ruins those fresh.
To Justin's point, Ash Williams is more of a Cooter than this girl, and he's covered in way more blood. So the correlation's there. Causation must be to follow.
Those fresh threads.
Hashtag Justin no.
Just to eat a cat.
I like that.
That's going to be trending right after our hashtag boycott dick bibs.
Hashtag Justin.
Oh God, yes, come with me.
All right. So yeah, let's just, for the sake of argument, she's manipulative.
Sure.
So,
what's your other points for her?
She doesn't have the attire. She's not sexually deviant. She's not pathetic in any way. I mean, come on.
I don't think so.
Come on.
Actually, yeah,
she's got you fuckers at a bad time.
She's not pathetic because she actually takes charge of that little group. She keeps everybody in line, maybe.
Yeah, she does. And she's not arrogant.
She turns out to be
She could be arrogant.
Maybe. Maybe.
I think she's on her way to becoming a dictator at the end of this movie.
I think so.
My read on her is that she is definitely going to be in a leadership role, and she seems pretty comfortable with it.
She seems pretty benevolent, though. So let's go ahead and give her all the power.
She keeps her teacher in a bubble.
It'll be totally fine.
She kept her teacher alive to be in a bubble and tell them stories. I don't know, man.
Okay, so we got 2 maybes, 3 hard no's.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that. I don't think that's not a strong Cooter contender.
I just wanted to explore the possibility. Okay, guys, we got to do this thoroughly. Okay.
Yeah,
this is what we're known for. This is what the people come to Straight Chillin' for. Nobody else has Cooter hunting, and nor should they. It's copyright material.
Copywritten.
If anybody
got
else
the trademark stamp
tries to hunt Cooters on the show,
we don't like people who break copyright laws here.
I licked her asshole a little bit.
We really hate copyright infringement here. We really, really hate it.
And elect to the census. Isn't it, my friend?
It's the best.
Oh fuck! At least we're ripping off the worst mummy movie ever made. All right,
I think Tom would approve of our use of his scream.
Yeah, I think so. No, he wouldn't. So no real definitive Cooter in this movie. Let's go ahead and move on to what we've been watching this week. It's the social hour.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Oh, guys, get your mini quiches out and your pinkies in the wind.
Shake the mullet out, boys. It's party time.
Oh man, let me uncinch my mullet from and free it from its
business has been taken care of, and now it's time for the party.
If you see the crab cakes, get your hands on the crab cakes. I love.
Don't eat the crab cakes.
Love the crab cakes, boys. Let's talk about what we've been watching. Randy, kick us off, man.
So, I actually neglected to mention a movie last week, and this is going to be the main thrust of my What's Been Watching segment. I watched a movie called Z on Shudder. You guys familiar? It's gotten a lot of buzz.
Familiar? Yeah.
No, and unfortunately, I don't have.
Oh yeah, you don't have Shudder access. But Bob, have you seen it? Bob,
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Okay, I got a lot of I saw a lot of people praising it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll check this out, and I watched it. I want to say 6 or 7 days ago.
6 or 7 times.
This has been my experience. Actually, maybe it was more than that because it was before last episode. So it must have been the day before the episode, which would have been 8 days ago, I think.
It's irrelevant.
It's actually kind of relevant.
Okay.
So the reason it's relevant is because last night I was sitting with fan favorite Becky, who happens to be my roommate and a person that I care about. And
your lover.
Yeah, that's accurate.
You can say
and your Diddy. Your strong Diddy.
She's my strong Diddy. She's my dastardly Diddy.
Too strong.
Oh, Diddy.
It's okay.
So we're sitting there. We're like, okay, well, it's Friday or it's Saturday. We got nothing to do. It's quarantine. What do you want to watch something? I guess there's it's that or play a game, and there's no in between. So we're like, okay, so what do we want to watch? I was like, there was this movie on Shudder I heard about that sounded pretty good called Z. You want to check that out? And Becky says, yeah, I've heard of it. And I was like, oh yeah, you interested in watching it? And she's like, I'm pretty sure we watched that already. And I was like, no, we didn't. I haven't seen this movie yet. And she's like, no, we definitely watched it. It's about the girl and the woman, and she has a kid who has an imaginary friend called Z. And I was like, oh fucking yeah, I totally watched this entire movie last week. It's not good.
It made a strong impression on you.
That's the problem. I forgot that I even watched it. It was like a week ago. It was like a fucking week ago. That's not good. And the thing is, I didn't watch that movie and say to myself, this movie sucks or this movie's amazing. I just watched it and immediately forgot.
Damn.
I don't know if that speaks worse for the movie or worse for me, but it's not good for either of us. No. And I kind of am shamefaced about the whole fucking ordeal. So that was my big one that I wanted to confess to more than anything. I also have been playing, I bought on Switch for $5 the original Doom, which I have never played. I've never played any Doom games.
Whoa, OG Doom.
No
OG Doom. And I gotta say, it took a little getting into, but I am enjoying it. It's it's old school. I never got to play it, but it's in the style of a Duke Nukem and that sort of thing. Yeah. I don't know which came first, so don't at me. But it's a fucking interesting and fun game. It's just like I don't know, it's a nice arcadey feeling shooter to me. And I feel like I would have loved it as a kid. So, I'm kind of regretful that I didn't do Doom growing up now.
Andy, how'd you get through like elementary school? I played Doom all through elementary
with
school.
no mental damage. And also...
Got you fuckers at a bad time.
Mikey's back in for the social hour. He's talking about some shit.
That's right, okay.
Bringing us back
stealing
in.
all the quiches, son of a bitch.
That motherfucker.
It's just funny that you mentioned Doom. Bob actually walked in on me the other day.
But
I was naked, and I was also I was fighting the last boss in the newest Doom Eternal game. So
I've heard that they're all very good.
It looks
the new
dope.
ones.
The last two Dooms, Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, I definitely recommend. They're great games.
Yeah, I'm now interested because I've had a good time with this movie. I know that this game is like worlds apart, decades apart, but
it still holds its.
The idea of like space plus hell is kind of fun. I can kind of get down on that a little bit. I'm not very good with survival horror shooters specifically. I can do like the occasional Resident Evil. I've mentioned that before, but for the most part, I'm really like skittish with that shit. I react really big to jump scares, even if they're terrible jump scares. So for me, it's kind of like it's a little masochistic, sadomasochistic on myself to play those games. But I am interested now, and I may pick one up.
So you're you're playing Doom and beating off? What are you talking about?
Yeah, man, I'd be
stroking.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'd be stroking a Doom.
That's cool.
No, I really recommend those games. They're good games, especially the new ones, because now they actually implemented strategy in those games. They're not just brain dead
button mashers.
Yeah,
you say that, but I hit a level the other day, and I spent like, I think that it gives a par at the end of every level where it says, okay, it should take you 1 minute and 30 seconds to beat this game. And I was at like 26 minutes because I got so fucking lost. I was like, how do I get into this room?
No. Play the new ones and like actually enjoy. I don't know if I'm smart enough. Don't just run through them super fast, and enjoy the environment and like the graphics and the scenes that they put you in. They're really good games. I think the 2016 one is better than Doom Eternal, even though the story in Doom Eternal is probably a little bit better. But the 2016 one, the whole environment and like the situation they put you in, it's really good. So for you video game goers, go ahead and pick those up, buy those, play them. They're good games, especially during this time.
Don't peddle your shit here, Mikey, okay? This isn't Let's Get Physical property.
I'm going to buy it digital.
And
take that shit to the other show. We're all about
digital download
GameStop
code.
once you want to trade them in.
We're all about jet skis here.
Listen, I'm not trading in my jet ski. My jet ski is going to outlive us all.
I'll tell you what, man. I saw jet skis at the flea market the other day. Those motherfuckers were thinking those things were fucking gold. And then you see the DVD and Blu-ray sellers. They're selling 50 cents a piece. And y'all want to talk shit. And the damn jet skis, they're thinking they're gold. They're probably fucking broken.
See what y'all did?
Man, I got an impression of Mikey now.
You're a monster! What the hell is wrong with you?
I don't.
So yeah, let me finish my segment. So the last few things that I wanted to bring up and what you've been watching are 3 comedy specials, because I got crazy on the stand-up this week for whatever reason. I almost never watch stand-up specials anymore.
They're not funny.
CK broke my heart, and then I just stopped watching them. So I finally got to watch a few of them. I watched Patton Oswalt's I Love Everything. I watched Jim Gaffigan's Mr. Universe, and I watched Chris Fleming's Show Pig, all of which were very fucking funny, and I loved all of them, and I highly recommend all of them. I don't know if I hit the jackpot by just like landing on some of the cream of the crop, or if these guys are just so good that they reached the upper echelons and became in my purview or whatever. I mean, everybody knows Patton Oswalt. Everybody, for the most part, knows Jim Gaffigan. I don't think as many people know Chris Fleming, but I loved all that shit, and I recommend each one of them. Watch that shit. It's very, very funny stuff. So that's all. I just wanted to make sure and plug that shit.
Sweet deal. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched some more of that Michael Jordan documentary, or the Bulls documentary, whatever was coming out. And it was cool because they released the first 2 for me, and then the first one was like more focused on Michael, and they always come back to the Bull season, and then the second one was about Pippin. I was excited to get to Rodman because I just didn't know that much about Rodman, to be honest, and I was really curious to see his backstory.
It is very bizarre indeed.
The thing is about Rodman, though, after that after his episode, I definitely have more sympathy for the guy. And I didn't know really anything about him, honestly, beforehand. I know he gets a lot of attention. He doesn't seem like a particularly smart guy, but he seems like a guy who's pretty insecure, but also really loyal. So he didn't really start freaking out until he started freaking out. He didn't start getting a whole lot of attention until he started dating Madonna. And I feel like Madonna kind of treated him probably she probably treated him like a good person, and he kind of attached his personality to that. He seems kind of like a chameleon. He seems like he gets treated well by somebody, and he kind of really dedicates himself to that person. So he seems like somebody who would be really easy to maybe manipulate or something.
You're describing Michael Scott right now.
Kind of, yeah.
That sounds like a very lonely man.
Yeah, he kind of does.
But that's what it strikes me as.
He did, yeah. He actually did. Because then they were talking about, how wild he was. But then when Scottie Pippen was out, he was Michael's number 2. And so then Michael really leaned on Dennis Rodman. And he was saying during that time, Dennis Rodman was the model citizen. As soon as Michael Jordan said, Dennis Rodman, I need you to step up. I need you to support me. He did. And all he needed was that kind of recognition. Yeah, Michael, I'm here for you. And then when Scottie Pippen came back, that's when Dennis Rodman fell apart again. When he wasn't needed, or he wasn't had that leader to kind of guide him or whatever. And so it was curious because I know he gets a lot of attention with the whole North Korea thing and Kim Jong-un, he's not that bad of a guy. He really just seems like a guy who just kind of sees the best in people, or wants to kind of be friendly with people, but is often ostracized. And when anyone is just nice to him or friendly to him, he seems like he's really loyal to that person. And so it made the whole North Korea thing make a little more sense. And that's, he probably went over there not knowing a whole lot. Like I said, doesn't seem like a super smart guy, but probably was treated well. And it's just hey, this is a good, a decent dude. Why you guys give him so much shit?
I'm coming around to North Korea. Thanks for this talk, Justin.
So anyways, it was, it's a really good series. I still, it's not all available to me yet. So I'm really looking forward to finishing it though. And other than that, I haven't been watching a whole lot, but I did finish BioShock 2 and started the third BioShock, which is called BioShock Infinite. And this is the one that does not take place in the sea. It takes place in a city in the sky. And I got to say that I've played it once before, but it's been a while. And the game is beautiful, but it's almost like they took BioShock and were all of these gameplay elements that make BioShock a really special, unique shooter. Let's throw all that shit out the window and replace it with really bad mechanics. And it's frustrating the shit out of me. I'm getting really frustrated with that aspect. So it's unfortunate because the story is interesting. The game looks beautiful. I cannot understand how they justified changing the gameplay. Mechanics.
Visually, I know that I'm sure they were looking for something a little different visually, but I guess
visually, but
else about it.
Let me get it's a first-person shooter,
right?
So the big thing is in the original BioShocks, you have distinct guns. You start off with a melee weapon, you get a pistol, a machine gun, and then a rocket launcher and stuff like that as you build up, and you can customize them. And you have alternate ammunition and stuff like that. It's really into the guns. In this one, you can hold 2 guns at a time, and you literally just replace them by the people you kill. So if somebody was shooting at you with a shotgun, you kill them, you can pick up their shotgun, but it throws your pistol away. And they're just disposable, and it really sucks. And that's just one example of many. I'm why do they change this? I don't know. But I will, of course, be giving a full review once I finish the game. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of baffling to me.
It's just a little taster for you folks.
Oh yeah, just a little I might be going off on BioShock Infinite. But other than that, I wasn't watching a whole lot, so that's about it.
Sweet deal. Michael!
What?
Welcome to the show.
Am I still here?
What you been watching?
Dude, I've been watching a lot of stuff. Justin, I've watched the entire Last Dance documentary as well. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. I grew up buying shoes every Saturday. If you're a Jordan fan, you know Saturdays were Jordan days. I actually owned 73 pairs of Jordans growing up. I sold them off when I moved to South Carolina for a job that I accepted a long time ago. Yeah. And honestly,
so that's where it started. Before the physical media, it was the physical property in the Air Jordan.
It's funny you say that. I bought those Jordans. I remember I had a huge Blu-ray collection then, but I never parted with the Blu-ray collection, of course, because it still grew to this day. But because
they devalue
Blu-ray is life.
They did at that time. They did. I have to admit they did at that time. But there's a lot now that now it's kind of nice holding on to. But the shoes to this day, I kept like a handful of Jordans because I love the Bulls. I've always been a Bulls fan. I've always been a Chicago sports fan for the longest time, thanks to my brothers and sisters growing up. I've been to 2 Bulls games in the United Center, actually. One I went to in this past December. It's a great environment. I love Michael Jordan. I love that documentary. You should definitely check out the Dennis Rodman 30 for 30, Justin, after you watch all 10 parts, because it opens up Dennis Rodman more of a person. He's actually more intelligent than you think. He's very gifted. It's just that he had those problems. He definitely had those problems, like how everyone else can deal with stuff, and how things as a kid can come back and haunt you as an adult. All
right.
You should definitely watch the Dennis Rodman 30 for 30, and definitely watch the Detroit Pistons Bad Boys 30 for 30, because that
was really intriguing to me, talking about his time in Detroit. Yeah, that was cool.
Oh yeah, because that team was there was just a problem in the 80s. I mean, those guys, man, you watch those highlights now, you couldn't think the NBA could get away from it, because they literally fought.
I didn't know you could fight back in basketball. They were fighting like it was hockey.
Man, they grabbed bathing suit parts and everything. They didn't give a shit.
Damn.
Yeah, they put their knee in your asshole. They didn't care.
That's right in the old asshole.
That was actually
nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
That was actually a coaching tactic I learned, because I grew up playing basketball a lot. It was, if a bigger guy was backing you down, you put your knee in their asshole, and they wouldn't like that. They'll slow down. That was actually a tactic. It slowed the bigger guy down, because they're going to back you down regardless, so you might as well weaken them a little bit, so you put your knee in their asshole. That's just for you.
Things are starting to make a lot more sense now.
Well, food for thought there.
For you growing up, playing basketball, put their knee in their asshole if they're bigger and stronger than you. But other from that, I was, of course, the Last Dance documentary. All 10 parts they're amazing. It's great television. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of TV. I've been rewatching The Community, which is always great TV. I've been watching, if you listen to the Let's Get Physical podcast, I've been watching a lot of werewolf movies. I do not recommend the Howling movies. I do recommend American Werewolf in London, and is it London or Paris? Which one am I talking about?
London is the one you want to watch.
Paris is the one that you will be run out on a rail for.
Damn, I've been drinking a lot today.
It's true. We've been drinking literally all day.
All goddamn day. We've been trying to hunt for movies for the show, but there's not a lot of things open right now besides Walmart
closed.
and Target. God damn. What the hell else I've been watching, man? I don't know what I've been watching.
I don't live in your house.
I don't know. You're over there enough. God damn.
I don't know. You playing a lot of Doom? That's all I really know.
I have been playing a lot of Doom. I'm about to start playing Final Fantasy. Honestly, I just been watching a lot of YouTube.
Hey, Justin, you want to go get a beer?
We got a show. We got a show over here. It's fine. We don't need you.
Yeah, we're just having fun. No, honestly, it's just been a lot of YouTube. Just watching what's been going out of print. A lot of video game news. Ever since the quarantine started, I've been getting back into video games. I've been getting into a lot of the old school stuff I'm playing, like PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 especially. That was a great system. That's basically what I've been doing for most of my time.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll be talking more about a lot of that very soon on the other show.
Plug.
I'm gonna
crash that show and talk about jet skis.
Honestly,
you know the best thing about jet skis.
Do that. That's hilarious.
I'm just gonna pop in.
Let's put a pin in
physical media. That's physical.
Let's put a pin in that. I've been watching a ton of Vestron releases because I have recently been trying to collect all of them.
What was your inspiration for that?
Of what? What was it?
Michael fucked me up because Vestron is a label that they've only put out 17 Blu-rays to date. The last release they put out was it October 2018?
Yeah.
So it's over a year ago. It's been a while.
Maximum Overdrive.
They put out a lot of really good stuff though, and I've recently been trying to collect all of those 17 releases. So I got them all now. I've been working through them. I blame fucking Mikey for this.
He put his knee right in your asshole.
Right in my asshole. He kneed me right in the asshole, and I had no choice but to watch.
Hey, weakened him down. It works. It works every time.
I had to watch all this shit. So I'm going to talk about just a couple. I revisited Blood Diner from 1987, which was directed by Jackie Kong, and I want to give a mad shouts out to my boy Jim G Baby, who chose Jackie Kong's first movie for us to talk about via our Patreon website, The Being.
Is that The Being?
The Being, yeah. We talked about that shit.
You love the shit out of that movie.
Dude, I do like The Being. And you know what? I also like Blood Diner. Blood Diner's fucking solid. This movie is about these two brothers. They own a diner, and they're sacrificing people. They're carving them up. They're serving a meat to people. And they're trying to resurrect this ancient demon by the name of Sheetar. And it's super goofy.
Is that the brother to Ketar?
It's the brother of the ancient Egyptian demon Ketar, which we all know of.
The oft forgotten He-Man and the Masters of the Universe character, Ketar.
I've always wanted a Ketar.
Yeah, of course you want a Ketar. I don't know what to say to that.
I want a red one.
I don't know what... This movie is hilarious. There's tons of gore. It's very, very goofy. It's played for laughs. I recommend the hell out of it. If you watch The Being and you kind of dig it, just imagine The Being times 10 almost. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's extra goofy. It is not serious in any way. The gore is pretty dope. Blood Diner, watch it. I recommend it. The other one I wanted to mention that I watched for the first time, never seen this before, is a movie called The Lair of the White Worm from 1988.
Hugh Grant,
one of Hugh Grant's first movies. He's massive.
How big of a Grant?
He's so big in this movie. It's insane.
Whatever. Shit. He looks like he's 150 pounds soaking wet.
No, yeah. He's a tiny little boy.
We can fix that quicker than God makes poor folks.
His clothes are wearing him.
He's tiny. He's a tiny little boy. This movie is weird, man. It's hard to describe. I guess, so it's set in Ireland, and Hugh Grant is, he's part of this, family that has existed in Ireland for hundreds of years. He's very wealthy. He's got this mansion. He hosts this huge party, and there's this bit of folklore about his family. It's his great grandfather or something like that slayed this giant white worm. He cut the worm in half with this family sword, and the sword's still in the mansion to this day. And I don't know. There's this woman,
white worm,
this huge white worm. Yeah, it's like a serpent.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
It's a white serpent.
God damn it!
How did it smell?
Like nothing
I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Okay, all right.
Nothing at all. There's this woman in this movie who's definitely connected to the serpent, and she's trying to sacrifice people to it. And Hugh Grant's sort of unaware of this.
He's just trying to enjoy his mansion. Come on.
He is. It's fucking weird, man. There's this folk song that's written about Hugh Grant's family and how his great-great-grandfather slayed this white slithering worm, and towards the end of the movie we actually see this big white worm, and it looks terrible, but it's hilarious. It is fucking weird. It is unlike any movie I've ever seen before, and I recommend it, but just know that it's super fucking weird.
A delight to the senses. This is my friend.
It's hard to describe, but I recommend the shit out of it. The Lair of the White Worm. Hugh Grant is
Lair.
Bizarre.
I don't think I'll be checking that one out, Bob.
Now, when you say lair, do you mean Lair or Layer?
Lair. Also, this is adapted.
I kind of want a layer of white worms.
This is adapted.
I want that to be the movie
from a Bram Stoker novel, which I just now realized.
A man who lays with worms, Randy.
I be stroking.
I'd be
Bram stroking.
Bram stroking, baby.
Bram stroking.
I'd be Bram stroking the white worm, bish.
Fucking A. This movie is weird as shit. You should watch it.
That's the thing with the Vestrons, though. There's a lot of like good gems compared to misses.
Yeah, most of them are dope. We might be doing a Vestron spotlight episode on Let's Get Physical Media later. Maybe not.
Plug.
We'll see. We'll see what's up. That's all I've been watching.
When are you going to do the best of?
It was a marriage to the beast.
We need to know the different specs and, which ones really top out,
Which ones really top out? That's what we got to talk about.
That's all I need to know. Really, out on the open sea.
Which one can float? Which one can float you to safety in a nautical accident?
Can you Tokyo drift in? Is what we need to know.
Yeah, that's what we need to know.
Those are the questions inquiring minds need to know.
It's true. That's where we're at in the world. Lair of the White Worm. It's weird as fuck. Slam your eyeballs into it. I don't know. That's what I've been watching. We got one more segment in this show in which we call the Hotline Scream. If you are listening and you would like to call in and leave us a voicemail to be played on the show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. We don't have any voicemails this week. I do have a prompt. If you want to call in and answer this prompt, we will play it next week. The only question I have related to this movie, if you were Melanie, if you were the little girl in this movie, would you sacrifice yourself, or would you essentially say, fuck that, and exterminate mankind? What would you do? I'd like to know. And why? Why would you do it? Why? I want to know.
I also would like to know if you were the teacher and you knew that you could sacrifice the little girl to save your own species, the humanity. Especially after you watched her brutally beat the shit out of another child. Would you do it? Would you let the child be sacrificed for the sake of the humanity?
It was a marriage to the beast.
The humanity. We have the best questions on this show.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the best thought out questions.
That's why so many people called in this week.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Well, yeah, if you want to call in, leave us a voicemail, you can answer those questions, or you can just say what's up and whatever the fuck you want. We'll still play it. It's cool.
You can say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, gentlemen's. You can hit us up at 904.
You could be Rage Cat the next.
904-638-3231. We'll play it on next week's show. That's going to do it for us this week on Straight Chilling. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show. We're going to be talking about the winner of the May poll pick, which was chosen by the people.
Oh, shit.
The movie is...
What is it?
Tucker and Dale vs. Evil from 2010.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
That's what we're talking about.
Be prepared.
Tucker and Dale, slam your eyeballs into it. Get ready for next week's show. I'm excited. Hopefully you're excited. Until next week, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on our Slack channel conversations, hit us up on any one of those social media outlets. I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. We talk about the movie of the week, horror TV, music, funny shit, spooky shit, topical shit, all the shits. So, if you want to do that, just let us know. Until next week. Next week.
Yeah.
I've been drinking. All you mother truckers, please keep chilling.